Hey, hello, grade 12s. Welcome back to the channel, Science Therapy, hosted by the one and only science therapist, Uabudiwa Sos Ugobela Maths. And without any further ado, let's look at this question that we have here. Okay, so we have an extract of question 1 from Prelim 2017 Gauteng. And then let's see what we have here. It says question 1, solve for x, and then we are given this equation here. So to solve that, we can just go, we have x minus 1 is equals to 12. Then all we have to do is multiply inside the bracket with this x here. This will give us x squared minus x. And then if we take this 12 over to this side, that's minus 12 is equals to 0. Now, if we are looking for the factors of 12 to have inside our brackets, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. These are all the factors of 12, but then we are looking for factors of 12. When we multiply them, they're going to give us 12. When we add or subtract them, they give us negative 1. So that will definitely be 3 and 4. So this will go as x minus 4 and then x plus 3. Remember, the bigger number takes the sign of the middle term, then equal to 0. This is x is equals to 4 or x is equals to negative 3. Then voila, just like that, you have solved your 1.1.1. Now, 1.1.2, we have 2x squared plus 3 is equals to 8x, and then they've told us correct to 2 decimal places. Whenever we see that statement, note, this gives us a right to use the quadratic formula. But before we can use the quadratic formula, we have to make sure that this is in standard form. So how do we do that? We take this 8x over to the side. So this is 2x squared minus 8x plus 3 is equals to 0. Now at this point, we can say A is equals to 2, B is equals to negative 8, and C is equals to 3. Then what do? Just go ahead and write the formula for the quadratic. Write the quadratic formula. Then this is negative from the formula, but then our B is negative 8, then plus minus. So this is negative 8 square minus 4, A is 2, and then C is 3 over 2 times 2. Now you want to punch all that into your calculator. It gives you 3.58 and then also 0.42. Right. So just like that, you have found your solutions for 1.1.2, and then you have yourself 4 marks. Right. Then let's proceed to 1.1.3. So we are killing this. This is 2x plus 3, and then 3 minus x greater than 4. Now what we need to do here is FOIL. 2x times 3, that's 6x. 2x times negative x, that's negative 2x squared. 3 multiplied by 3, that's 9. And then 3 multiplied by negative x, that's negative 3x. Then we can take this 4 over to the side. Minus 4, then we are left with greater than 0 this side. And then if we have to arrange this to standard form, this is negative 2x squared. 6x minus 3x, that's positive 3x. 9 minus 4, that's positive 5. And then greater than 0. Now that we have our a value as a negative, we can just go ahead and divide everything throughout by negative 1. Also on the right hand side, divide by negative 1. So this will give us positive 2x squared minus 3x minus 5. And then now what dividing by negative does to the inequality sign is that it changes the direction of the inequality sign. So now we will have our inequality sign facing this side here. So it will be less than 0. Right. Now at this point, you want to factorize. Okay, so when you factorize, it becomes 2x minus 5, and then here we have x plus 1, and then less than 0. So I believe when we do this, we're still going to get the negative 3x as our middle term. So if we say 2x multiplied by 1, that's positive 2x. But then if we say 2x minus 5x, that's negative 3x, of course. So that's correct. Now at this point, note, you need to treat this as if it was an equation, but then you don't show it. Just write it on the side and just go ahead and treat it as if it was an equation. You would have 2x minus 5 is equals to 0. This would be 2x is equals to 5. Divide both sides by 2, and then x is equals to 5 over 2. So that's your critical value. Now also treat this one as if you were dealing with an equation. So this is x is equals to negative 1. So these two values that you just got here are what we call your critical values. So you will just write here and say critical values. You can just write CV, and then you start with the minimum and then end with the maximum value. So you have your minimum value negative 1, and then you just semicolon that, and then 5 over 2. So minimum value, maximum value. But then this is what you need to note every time you are dealing with inequalities. So I will give you a trick, and then make sure that you run with this trick. Whenever your sign is like this we call it the less than sign, right? So if you have the less than sign, always note this. Your solution here in terms of your inequalities will always be like this. This will be your minimum, and this here will be your maximum. But then if you have a sign like this, which is the greater than sign, this is greater than sign, then your solutions are always x less than the minimum value or x greater than the maximum value. So if you have the greater than sign, then your solutions are separate like that and facing opposite directions like this. But then if you have the less than sign, they're all going to the same directions, the signs, right? So the solution for here would be x greater than negative 1, but x less than 5 over 2. That's how you read this. You say x greater than negative 1 or x less than 5 over 2. Another way to write this would be to say x is an element of negative 1 is to 5 over 2. So this is also another way to write that. And note that I'm using round brackets because the critical values are not part of the solution. So we are saying it's only for the values that are within negative 1 and positive 5 over 2. But negative 1 and 5 over 2 are not included. Now, if you prefer to use this method here, then you can just write your critical values negative 1 here, and then you write 5 over 2, and then you just shade inside the critical values, in between the critical values, to just indicate that the values that satisfy the inequality are the values that are within the critical values. So that's if you prefer to show it diagrammatically like that, or graphically, right? So that's how you would go about answering that inequality question. But the one thing that you need to notice this. So put an NB on this. If you are having the less than sign, your solutions look like this. And then if you're having the greater than sign, your solutions look like this. Then, okay, let's proceed to 1.1.4. So this is a question on exponents. So we have 2 to the exponent of x, and then 5 multiplied by 2 to the exponent of x plus 1 is equals to negative 144. But then before we solve this, I want to just remind you of a certain law of exponents. Remember, if we have a to the exponent of m plus n, this can be written in terms of the same base as a to the exponent of m, and then a to the exponent of n. So a to the exponent of m multiplied by a to the exponent of n, whereby you are just expressing the same base to this different exponents, which is what we can see with this here. This is a similar case. So we have 2 to the exponent of x minus 5, and then this is 2 to the exponent of x, and then 2 to the exponent of 1 is equals to negative 144. Okay, but then why do we want to do that? It's because from doing that, we can see that we can come up with a common factor. So we now have a common factor of 2 to the exponent of x, meaning at this point, we can factor out that common factor. So we are left with 1. And then remember, there is a coefficient of 1 here. If we factor it out from here, we are left with the 5 multiplied by 2 to the exponent of 1. And that's equals to negative 144. So this is 2 to the exponent of x. And then 5 times 2 is 10. 1 minus 10, that's negative 9, is equals to negative 144. Let's divide both sides by this negative 9. And then this would be 2 to the exponent of x is equals to 16. But then we are dealing with exponents, so we need to write this 16 here in terms of exponents. So this would be 2 to the exponent of x. If you just say 16 equals shift fact, it will just write it in terms of the simplified base form, which is 2 to the exponent of 4, right? Then just like that, we have here the bases are the same. And then the law says if the bases are the same, then what do you need to do? You need to drop down the exponents. So x is equals to 4. Let's look at 1.2. Say solve for x and y simultaneously. We are given y plus 2x minus 3 is equals to 0. And then we are given this equation here in standard form. So this is y plus 2x minus 3 is equals to 0. Let's call it equation 1. And then we have y is equals to x squared plus 2x plus 3. Let's call it equation 2. Now, looking at equation 2, we can already see that it's in standard form. So that means what we can do with that is that we can just take equation number 2 and substitute it right into equation number 1. So where we see y, we're just going to go ahead and substitute this whole expression here. So we will say substitute equation 2 into equation 1, right? So in the place of y, I substitute x squared plus 2x plus 3, and then now I have this plus 2x minus 3 equal to 0. Now this and that are like terms, so this is x squared plus 4x, 3 minus 3 is 0, so can just leave it like that. Then equal to what? Equal to this 0 here. Now at this point, I can see that I have a common factor of x. So x factor out, and then I'm left with x. But then here I'm left with 4. So this here, I need to take the x equated to 0. Take this x plus 4 equated to 0 as well. So my x will be negative 4. So now I have my solution x is equals to 0. And also another one, x is equals to negative 4. But then remember, I'm solving for x and y simultaneous. So after I've found the two values for x, I also need to find two values for y. So I'm going to say for x is equals to 0, then substitute it into equation 2 because it's already in standard form. This is y. Then where there's x, just substitute 0. And then my y is equals to 3. And then if I were to substitute for x is equals to negative 4, then I have y is equals to negative 4 squared plus 2 times negative 4 and then plus 3. So this gives us 11. Now my solutions in coordinate form, that's 0 is to 3. And then here I have negative 4 is to 11, right? So just like that, you have found your solutions for x and y simultaneously. So that's how you go about collecting that 5 marks. So just solving those easy basic questions, you have earned yourself 20 marks. So do not play, guys, when it comes to solving those algebra questions. So you might say that this is a very easy topic, but then sometimes it might get a bit challenging. So just make sure with this topic, if you want to pass your paper one, you just make sure to collect everything here. If it's out of 26, just get that whole 26 marks. If it's out of 28, just get that whole 28 marks. So you don't want to leave any mark to charity here. So, okay, guys, please press the thumbs up button if you have enjoyed the lesson and then you have found it helpful. And then if you've been watching the videos and haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. But most importantly, please share the link with your friends and classmates so that they may also find assistance. Remember, do not be selfish. We are winning as a team.